In a surprising turn of events, the Kansas City Chiefs are working on a long-term deal with one of their top free agents. But that's not all. Two other pass catchers might also be returning to the team. And believe it or not, there's even more to unpack from today's media session with head coach Andy Reid and general manager Brett Veach. Let's dive into everything they had to say. Both Reid and Veach spoke to the media at the NFL Combine, marking the first time we've heard from them this offseason. For Reid, it was his first public appearance since that tough Super Bowl loss to the Eagles. When asked about the game, he kept it honest, saying, "It was a bad day to have a bad day." No kidding. He admitted the team didn't play well, and he took full responsibility as a coach. But he also gave credit to the Eagles, saying they had a solid game plan and executed it perfectly. Reid acknowledged just how difficult it is to win 3 Super Bowls in a row, calling it a tremendous challenge. On the injury front, fans have been wondering about star defensive lineman Chris Jones. If you remember, he hurt his knee during the Super Bowl, but still managed to return in the third quarter. However, he was later ruled doubtful to come back in the fourth and never made it back on the field. Since then, there's been little information about the severity of his injury. Did he need surgery? Was it just a minor issue? When asked about it, Reid kept things short and sweet, saying Jones is doing good. That's definitely a relief for Chiefs fans. If there had been any surgery or major concerns, Reid likely would have mentioned it. The good news for Chris Jones just keeps getting better. There's no concern about him missing OTAs or training camp, which is a huge relief for the Chiefs. With his massive cap hit and crucial role on defense, the last thing they needed was a long-term injury setback. Some might say, why worry? He's got 7 months to heal. But if it had been something serious, like an ACL tear, we would have known by now. Thankfully, that's not the case, so Jones should be good to go when the season starts. Switching gears, Brett Veach made it clear just how lucky the Chiefs are to have Patrick Mahomes. Unlike teams scrambling to find a franchise quarterback, Kansas City has the luxury of building around one of the best to ever do it. But that also means they have to get creative. With so much success, the Chiefs often draft late in the rounds, and several key players carry hefty contracts. That's why the team's focus has always been on the trenches, because championships are won in the trenches. Veach proved that after the Super Bowl 55 loss when he doubled down on strengthening the offensive and defensive lines. He reminded everyone of the moves they made, signing Joe Thuney, who, according to Andy Reid, will move back to left guard, trading for Orlando Brown, and drafting Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. The priority is clear: protect Mahomes at all costs. Speaking of Mahomes, there's been talk about his average depth of target decreasing every year. Veach was asked about it and explained that it's due to multiple factors. One thing he didn't mention? The trade of Tyreek Hill. Sure, the Chiefs still made 3 straight Super Bowls without him, but Hill was an elite deep threat. Without him, Mahomes had to adjust. Veach even hinted that Mahomes' football IQ is so high now that he might be overanalyzing defenses. He's grown and developed so much that he knows maybe too much at this point, Veach said. He's seeing things that maybe defenses don't even do now, because he's that far advanced. That's the kind of problem every team wishes they had. A quarterback so smart and skilled that he's practically seeing the future. Brett Veach's comments about Patrick Mahomes overanalyzing defenses raise an interesting question. Is Mahomes expecting things to happen before the snap that don't actually unfold? Is he second-guessing his reads or making last-minute adjustments at the line that might not be necessary? It's hard to say. What we do know is that Veach pointed to another key factor. Mahomes needs to settle his feet and trust his protection. Of course, that's easier said than done. The offensive line has been an issue at times, especially in both of Kansas City's Super Bowl losses. And when you look at the numbers from this past season, it's easy to see why Mahomes might be feeling uneasy in the pocket. Let's talk about the deep ball, or rather why Mahomes' average depth of target keeps dropping year after year. A big part of the problem is trust in the offensive line. Last season, Mahomes was knocked down more than any other quarterback in the league, a staggering 77 times. On top of that, he was sacked a career-high 36 times in the regular season. For comparison, his previous high was 28 back in 2021. With all that pressure, it's no wonder Mahomes sometimes feels like the pocket is collapsing, even when it's not. There were moments when the protection was solid, but he still bailed early, rushed through his reads, or scrambled unnecessarily. Other times, the pocket actually did break down, and he hung on too long, taking massive hits. The problem was even worse in the playoffs. Mahomes was sacked 11 times in the postseason alone. For perspective, he was sacked just 3 times in the entire 2022 playoffs and 5 times in 2023. That means he took more sacks in this playoff run than he did in the last two combined. And keep in mind, the Chiefs had a first-round bye. That's a serious issue. Injuries also played a role in the O-line struggles. Early in the season, Joe Thuney had to move from left guard to left tackle after Kansas City's young tackles, Kingi Suamatia and Wanya Morris, couldn't lock down the position. Then, when the Chiefs brought in veteran DJ Humphries to help, he suffered a hamstring injury, forcing even more adjustments. With all these moving pieces, it's no surprise Mahomes had to adapt. But if the Chiefs want to keep their franchise quarterback healthy and confident in the pocket, shoring up the offensive line has to remain a top priority. With Joe Thuney shifting to left tackle, the left guard spot became a weak point, especially with Nick Allegretti and Mike Caliendo rotating in. And while Thuney is an elite left guard, he's not built to be a dominant left tackle. That meant the Chiefs had to rely heavily on the quick passing game to stay effective through the air. All of these factors contributed to why Kansas City's offense lacked the explosive deep plays we've been used to seeing. One thing that could help bring those big plays back? A more dangerous running game. Fortunately, this year's draft is loaded with talented running backs, and Brett Veach has taken notice. Many general managers believe this is one of the deepest running back classes in recent memory. That means the Chiefs could find an instant impact player, even a borderline starter, in the third or fourth round, or possibly even later. Remember, Veach saw potential in Isaiah Pacheco and grabbed him in the 7th round. Now, he's one of the most productive backs in the league. Finding another steal like that could be exactly what the Chiefs need. Plus, Pacheco should look even better next season as he moves further past the injuries and surgeries that slowed him down last year. And with him entering the final year of his rookie deal, adding another back to the room is just smart business. Now, on to another major priority for Kansas City, Trey Smith. The Chiefs are reportedly making it a top goal to sign their star right guard to a long-term extension. According to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, the team is determined to keep Smith around for years to come. Some believe Kansas City should focus more on solving the left tackle situation before committing big money to a guard. But Veach made it clear that Smith is at the top of the Chiefs' priority list. "We've already had some good dialogue with him and his crew," Veach said. "We'll certainly do what we can, and I feel pretty optimistic about our possibilities there." Hearing Veach say he's optimistic? That's a big deal. He's usually cautious when discussing contract talks, so the fact that he sounds confident is a great sign. The Chiefs have made it clear they want to keep Trey Smith in Kansas City for the long haul. Veach didn't just say they'd love to keep him around. He used the word optimistic, and that's a big deal. It doesn't guarantee a deal will get done, but it does suggest the Chiefs are more determined than many originally thought. Adding to that optimism, Nate Taylor of Only Weird Games on KC Sports Network reported that there is growing belief the Chiefs will sign Smith to a new 5-year deal. If that happens, he'll be a Chief for a long time. Of course, the back-end years of the contract might be structured to help with cap flexibility, but the bottom line is that Kansas City seems serious about locking him up. Now, if Trey Smith stays, what does that mean for Kingsley Suamataia? That's a big question. Brett Veach appeared on 96.5 The Fan and mentioned that offensive line coach Andy Heck is really excited about Suamataia's upside at guard. That raises some eyebrows because if Joe Thuney returns, Creed Humphrey is locked in at center, and Smith resigns, where does that leave Suamataia? Year 1 didn't go as planned for him at tackle, but it might be too soon to say he'll never play the position in the NFL. If the Chiefs see him as a long-term guard, he could end up as a backup, at least for now. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Depth on the O-line is crucial, but it does raise questions about how the Chiefs plan to develop him. On the offensive side, Veach also made it clear that while strengthening the trenches is a priority, they will never stop adding talent at wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes. Right now, the Chiefs already have some exciting weapons, including Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, both of whom were early draft picks in the last 2 years. Worthy, in particular, really started making an impact in the second half of the season, showing flashes of the big playability the Chiefs need. Before his injury, Rashee Rice was on track for a breakout season, and according to Brett Veach, he was shaping up to be a top 10 receiver in the league in terms of production. That's high praise, and honestly, it's hard to disagree. Pairing Rice with Xavier Worthy already gives Patrick Mahomes a dangerous 1-2 punch at receiver, but the Chiefs might not be done yet. Veach hinted that they are very much interested in bringing back Hollywood Brown, saying, "And then we'll see if we can get Hollywood Brown back." That's a pretty clear signal that discussions are ongoing. Bringing Brown back would be a smart move, especially considering his value hasn't skyrocketed due to injuries last season. If Kansas City can lock him in at the right price, he could be an excellent complement to Rice and Worthy. And then, of course, there's Travis Kelce. At 36, he's no longer expected to carry the entire offense. And if Mahomes has those three dynamic receivers, Kelce won't have to. That could help extend his effectiveness and keep him fresh throughout the season. As for his future, Veach said the Chiefs are planning as if Kelce will return for the 2025 season. Apparently, Kelce had a good conversation with Andy Reid at the end of the year and intends to finish out the final season of his contract. There's no firm deadline for his decision, but the Chiefs fully expect him back. Of course, Kelce himself recently mentioned on his podcast that he's taking time to think things through, and Coach Reid encouraged him to do just that. But for now, all signs point to a return. Veach even said Kelce is still fired up and has the fire and desire to keep playing. That passion makes sense. Kelce has never been the type to walk away easily, and as long as he doesn't have to be Mahomes' primary target all season, he can still be a key contributor, even at 36. One other big takeaway from Veach's press conference: this year's draft class isn't just deep at running back, it's also loaded with defensive talent. While the Chiefs are always looking for ways to strengthen the offense, don't be surprised if they make some big moves to reinforce the defense as well. Veach specifically mentioned cornerback, linebacker, and defensive line as key areas in this draft class. And that couldn't be more fitting for the Chiefs, who have needs at all three positions. The defensive line is especially in flux, with multiple players hitting free agency, including Turk Wharton, Derek Nottie, and Charles Omenihu. Meanwhile, linebacker Nick Bolton is one of the biggest pending free agents, and his future with the team remains uncertain. And then there's the secondary. Trent McDuffie is the clear standout, but beyond him, there are a lot of moving pieces. Jalen Watson has been solid, but Brian Cook, Nazeeh Johnson, and Joshua Williams are all entering the final year of their deals. Extending McDuffie should be a priority, something I covered in yesterday's video, but that's just one piece of the puzzle: safety. Justin Reid is also a pending free agent, and if the Chiefs don't bring him back, they'll need a plan. That could mean trusting second-year safety Jaden Hicks to step up, giving Shamari Connor a bigger role, though he struggled in the slot last season, or making a move in the draft. Either way, it's good news that Veach and his staff see a deep pool of defensive talent available. The Chiefs have a strong track record of finding contributors in the middle and late rounds, and with so many needs on that side of the ball, expect them to keep that trend going. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your biggest takeaway from Veach and Andy Reid's pressers? Which moves are you most excited about? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.